Yeah. As a comedian, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious how you, like me, I'm on the outside. I think we all grew up with comedy, but like we gravitate towards certain comedians. So I want to hear you as a comedian. How do you describe the types of comedians? So David Chappelle, you said like sometimes it almost feels like a lecture.
Yeah.
You describe an educational component.
Yeah.
You describe a revealing component. It's our job to reveal things to you. So I want to hear you. How do you describe the types of comedians? And then how would you describe yourself as what type of comedian you are?
Yeah, I mean, the big ones is like observational comedians where they, just observe what's around you. A good example is Jerry Seinfeld. You know, he can take things like this glass of water and make a joke about it. Very observational about that. Ethnic comics, I think, is great too. That's where you touch into like Joe Coy, talk about all the different ethnicities. Don Rickles, you know who that is? Old school comedian, passed a long time ago, but he was real big on ethnic humor, and he was this white guy, and he would say some like racist stuff, but it'd be funny, and like you can't say those things these days, but I feel like we're kind of bringing it back a little bit. And then they go to saying, it's a term they say, are you a blue comic, which means you're really dirty. Like you're going blue. So they just swearing a lot, very vulgar. But I mean, I'm a clean comic, so I don't say those things. Nothing wrong with dirty comics and all that. Then there's like one-liner comedians where they just say one line. Jimmy Carr is a big one-liner comedian. There's another guy that was huge that passed away. I forget his name. But I mean, I would say I'm a mixture of, being a little bit observational and ethnic. I like to bring in all these different ethnicities just because we're in Hawaii and we're a mixed plate of ethnicities. And that's my life, my culture. We can make fun of the Japanese, Portuguese, Filipinos, Hawaiians, Samoans. And then I like to observe what's happening and just an exaggeration of my life, of how it is right now. I try to bring that to the stage.
Well, I think that's what society needs more of because of how sensitive everyone is with identity and just how sensitive society is now. And I think that your type of comedy can kind of bring us back to a place where everyone is more accepting.
Yeah, for sure.
To talk about the funny stuff actually makes you more accepting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The
yeah.
stuff that you're scared of. What is the single most fulfilling aspect of you doing comedy?
I guess there's just being in the zone, There's some certain shows where I'm just bouncing off with the crowd and I don't even honestly don't know how these lines come to me, these improv lines, but it's just there, blah 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 blah. Then I call it back to another guy and then tie it in with my material at the whole end, and you can just feel the energy in the room, oh, that was something magical that just happened. And that happens sometimes, and then I can feel that too, and that's very fulfilling to me.
That's what all great artists, that's like the precipice of anybody's art, when you can slip into the zone and you almost feel like you're just channeling energy.
Yeah, you just can't explain how it happened. Yeah.
And I've seen that. I've seen how you'll say something in the beginning of your show and then you'll tie it back in the end.
Or there's certain things that just happens in the crowd, and I see in the comments too, they're oh, there's no way this guy just said that, or there's no way that it too much of a coincidence, but it happens a lot. I don't know if it's just because I do a lot of shows, but
because you're getting better at your craft.
Better, yeah. But things just fall into place,
You know what? A lot of that happens for me and my brother. Our project is like the divine alignments that happen.
Yeah.
When you're living your purpose and you're kind of leaving it in the hands of the Almighty in a way.
Yeah.
And then you're really fully understanding what you're doing, what you're here for on earth. And I think that's when you start to see more of those type of situations.
It's real.
Instances.
Yeah.